Get out of the pool. This party is for respectable family only, not divorced failures. My mother screamed it loud enough for all 50 guests to hear. Her champagne sloshed over the rim as she pointed at my children like they were trespassing strangers. My 6-year-old daughter Lily burst into tears. My 8-year-old son Ethan grabbed her hand and looked up at me with wide, confused eyes that silently asked why their grandmother was being so cruel. I had no answer. Not then. But as I gathered our wet towels and walked my children through a crowd of staring faces, one thought crystallized with perfect clarity. I knew exactly what I was going to do next. Because what my mother didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the beautiful beach house she was so proudly hosting her party in belonged to me. Before I tell you what happened when she found out, let me ask you something. Where are you watching from right now? And when you hear how my mother discovered the truth, tell me honestly, have you ever watched karma arrive in real time? My name is Vanessa. I'm 36 years old and I've spent my entire life being a disappointment to a woman who worships perfection. Let me explain what perfect looks like in the Davenport family of coastal Connecticut. My mother, Caroline Davenport, grew up poor in a town no one remembers. She married my father, a successful insurance executive, and spent the next 40 years erasing every trace of where she came from. She remade herself into the perfect society wife. Perfect home, perfect wardrobe, perfect children who stayed perfectly within the lines she drew. My older sister, Adriana, was the golden child, beauty queen, Yale graduate, married to a plastic surgeon, 2 photogenic children, a house in Greenwich that photographs well for Christmas cards. She was everything my mother wanted to be. I was the mistake that kept happening. Never pretty enough. Never polished enough. Never ambitious in the ways my mother approved of. I chose marketing over medicine. I married for love instead of status. And when that marriage ended after my husband's affair with his secretary, I became something even worse in my mother's eyes. Divorced. In Caroline Davenport's world, divorce was a personal failure. It didn't matter that Kevin cheated. It didn't matter that I tried therapy, forgiveness, every possible angle to save a marriage to a man who didn't want to be saved. In her mind, I had failed to keep my husband, and that failure reflected on her. You should have tried harder, she told me when I announced the separation. Men stray when they're not satisfied at home. What did you expect, working all those hours? That was my mother, always able to twist someone else's betrayal into my fault. The divorce was finalized 2 years ago. I got primary custody of Lily and Ethan, a modest settlement, and the satisfaction of watching Kevin's relationship implode when his secretary discovered he was also sleeping with his accountant. Some men never learn. But here's what nobody in my family knew. While my marriage was falling apart, my career was soaring. I'd spent 15 years working my way up in marketing, eventually becoming creative director at a major agency. At 32, I took a risk and left to start my own digital marketing firm. Terrible timing, right in the middle of marital collapse, but I poured every ounce of myself into that business. By the time my divorce was final, my company had 12 employees and was generating 7 figures annually. Last year I made Forbes. But I never told my family. Why would I? They had already decided I was a failure. My mother wrote me off the moment the divorce papers were signed. Adriana pitied me at the rare family gatherings where I was tolerated. My success didn't fit their narrative, so I simply didn't share it. Instead, I did something petty. Something quietly satisfying. Something that would eventually become the best decision I ever made. I bought the beach house. The sand castle, as my mother called it. A gorgeous 4-bedroom property in Westbrook, right on the Connecticut shoreline. My parents had rented it every summer for 20 years, hosting their annual 4th of July party, projecting the image of people who owned beach houses, even though they didn't. When the owner decided to sell 2 years ago, my mother was devastated. They couldn't afford it. Not on my father's retirement income, not with their lifestyle. She even tried to convince Adriana's husband to buy it, but even plastic surgeons have limits. So I bought it. Quietly. Through an LLC. The lease, the payments, the communication, everything went through the property management company. My mother never knew that the divorced failure of a daughter she looked down on was her landlord. I didn't buy it out of revenge, at least not initially. I bought it because it was a smart investment. Because I loved that stretch of beach. Because I wanted my children to have a place filled with sunshine, not judgment. Her paying me rent was just a delicious bonus. For 2 years we coexisted without her knowing. I visited during the off-seasons, brought my kids for quiet weekends in September and October. It was peaceful. It was healing. It was ours. Then came this year's 4th of July party. I wasn't planning to attend. I wasn't invited. Actually, I had been informed, through Adriana, that Mom's doing the beach party again, with the implied suggestion that I probably have other plans. And still, somehow, I ended up there. And that's where everything changed. I wasn't supposed to come. At least that's what Adriana implied when she casually mentioned that Mom was hosting the beach house party again. But my kids had been asking about the pool, about the beach house, about why they never got to go to Grandma's big summer party. So I decided we'd stop by, briefly. Let the kids swim for an hour. Say hello, smile politely, leave before things got uncomfortable. What I didn't account for was my mother's champagne intake. We arrived around 2 o'clock. The party was in full swing. 50 guests spread across the deck in the pool, everyone pretending the ocean view belonged to them. Lily and Ethan ran straight for the water. I found a quiet corner where I could watch them without drawing attention. I'd been there maybe 20 minutes when my mother spotted us. "What are you doing here?" She materialized beside me, champagne flute in hand, her smile sharp enough to cut. "I don't remember inviting you." "The kids wanted to swim," I said. "We won't stay long." "The kids." She said it like they were a burden she hadn't agreed to carry. "Honestly, Vanessa, this is a family gathering. For actual family. Last I checked, I'm still your daughter. You're my embarrassment." Her voice was low, vicious. "Do you know how many people here have asked me about your situation? Do you know how many times I've had to explain that not everyone's children turn out as well as they should? I should have left. I should have collected my kids and walked away. I was tired. Tired of being the family disappointment. Tired of apologizing for a divorce that wasn't my fault. Tired of watching my children be treated like second-hand relatives. My children are swimming, Mom. We'll leave when they're done." That's when she snapped. She stormed to the edge of the pool, champagne sloshing dangerously, and screamed, loud enough for every person within 50 feet. "Get out of the pool. This party is for respectable family only, not divorced failures." Silence. 50 pairs of eyes turned. Lily burst into tears. Ethan's face collapsed with confusion and shame. I helped them out of the water, wrapped their shaking bodies in towels, held them close. "It's okay," I whispered. "Grandma's just having a bad day. We're going to get ice cream, okay? Everything's fine." Adriana watched from a few feet away, silent, stiff, entertained. Not a word. Not a gesture. Nothing. I led my children through that gauntlet of pitying faces, past the whispers, past the judgment, and into our car. I buckled them in, turned on their favorite songs, and drove to the best ice cream shop in town. And then I made a phone call. "Sandra, it's Vanessa. I need you to do something for me. Terminate the lease for the beach house tenant, Caroline Davenport. Effective immediately." Sandra, my property manager, paused. "Are you sure?" "She's been there for years." "I'm sure." "And Sandra, when you call her realtor, make sure they know who owns the property. She'll understand." The call went out the next morning. I wasn't there when my mother's phone rang. I wasn't there when her realtor informed her that the beach house owner was terminating her lease with 30 days' notice for breach of community standards and conduct unbecoming of a tenant. I wasn't there when the realtor revealed the owner's name. V. Davenport Holdings, LC. But I was there that evening when my mother showed up at my apartment. She didn't knock. He pounded like she was trying to break the door down. When I opened it, her face was a storm of fury and disbelief. "You own it." Her voice cracked. "You own the beach house?" "I do." "For how long?" 2 years. "I bought it when the Hendersons sold." "But you can't. You don't have that kind of money. You're divorced. You're struggling." I blinked. "Calm. Steady. I'm not struggling, Mom. I haven't been struggling for years. I own a company worth more than Dad made in his entire career. I just never told you, because you'd already decided I was a failure. And honestly, I didn't think you deserved to know." She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "The 4th of July party," she whispered. 20 years of that party. All my friends, all my connections, everything I've built. You built it on a rental property owned by your divorced failure of a daughter. You can't do this. I'll fight it. My lawyer. Your lease is month to month. Has been for years. I can terminate with 30 days notice for any reason. I smiled and it wasn't kind. But if you want a reason, you screamed at my children in front of 50 people. You called them failures. You humiliated a 6-year-old because her parents got divorced. That's reason enough. They're my grandchildren. No. Grandchildren have grandmothers who love them. You tolerate mine when it's convenient, and dismiss them when it's not. I started closing the door. The lease is terminated. You have 30 days. I suggest you start looking for a new venue for your parties. Vanessa, please. Please what? Please forget that you screamed at my kids? Please pretend that 36 years of being your least favorite daughter doesn't hurt? Please keep paying you rent so you can keep pretending to be something you're not. I shook my head. I'm done, Mom. I've been done for a long time. I just finally have the power to show it. I closed the door. She stood outside for 10 minutes, crying. I watched through the peephole. Part of me wanted to comfort her. But then I remembered Lily's tears. Ethan's confusion. 50 people watching my children be shamed by their own grandmother. I stayed behind the door until she left. That was 3 months ago. My mother moved out of the beach house on schedule. She's renting a much smaller place now, 2 towns over without ocean access. Her 4th of July party didn't happen this year. Adriana says she told everyone she decided to downsize. The beach house is mine now. Fully mine. No complications. No tenants who despise me. Last month I brought Lily and Ethan there. We swam in the pool with no one screaming at us. We built sandcastles. We ate ice cream on the deck and watched the sunset. Mommy? Lily asked. Is this our house now? Yes, baby. It's always been our house. Does that mean we can swim whenever we want? Whenever we want. Her smile stretched almost to the sky. And in that moment, every dollar I'd spent, every secret I'd kept, every confrontation I'd endured, was worth it. My mother has called a few times since. The conversations are short, awkward. She's not ready to apologize. Not in the way that matters. She's just angry that her carefully constructed image has cracked. Maybe someday she'll understand. Maybe she won't. Either way, I'm not waiting anymore. And if you've ever been dismissed by the people who should have loved you most, hear me clearly. Build anyway. Succeed anyway. Buy the beach house anyway. You don't need their approval. You don't need their acknowledgement. You don't need their validation to know your worth. And when they finally realize what you've built while they were busy underestimating you, let them sit with it. Because the sweetest revenge isn't destruction. It's watching your kids swim in the pool that used to belong to your shame.